Well, hi there. You're watching and or listening to North of Weatherfield, a Canadian Coronation Street podcast.
And this week we are going to be talking about episodes that aired in Canada between May 13th and May 17th.
But first, the theme. I love that theme.
I know you do.
I know. My name is Brittlestar.
My name's Shannon.
These aren't our real names, of course. My name this week is...
You're taking too long. I'm jumping in.
Adi.
Oh, okay.
And that goes like this. Yeah, you think so? Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. Except also when he said in the shop, when someone asked him to do something, it was Amy's asking him to do something, he said, "Hell no."
Wow, that's what we got.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was hoping that I could coast by on my poor impression, but you've not raised the bar, so
No.
This is me.
Again, I have to explain to the people listening.
I'm not done.
Okay, sorry. Are you being Freddy?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Was that Freddy in his big scene?
That was Freddy when he's just like before the big scene. That's not
Okay.
him when he's trapped, because then
Okay.
he barks a bit. Yeah.
Well, yeah, as
Maybe,
you
I don't
should.
know. Maybe next week I'll step it up a bit.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So this week we are going to be talking about, can I move this here so I can put papers? Thank you.
Yeah, it's only controlling the whole thing. That's fine.
You're not pressing buttons. We are going to be talking about Daniel, about Joel and Dee Dee, about Todd, Eileen, and George, about Freddie, about Roy, about Leanne, and about Toyah.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So Daniel was upset at Max, as he thought it was Max that had accused him of being the one in the apartment.
Yeah.
But then it turns out it was Bobby. And
That's
Daniel
right.
is actually, he was a little bit okay with that, because he's like, okay, at least Bobby's not stirring anything. It was just an honest mistake.
Yeah.
But then later on, Bobby and Max overhear Daniel talking on the phone and saying, right, okay, I'll be right over. And Bobby decides we should probably follow him. I don't know how this all occurs. So they follow him, and he goes to the precinct, and they see him chatting with what turns out to be Nikki
Yeah.
and another woman. And I think Max recognizes Nikki and knows that she was a former sex worker that Daniel had a relationship with.
Yeah.
So they take pictures of it and they send them to Swain, DS Swain.
DS Swain.
Which means that the police come knocking once again on Daniel's door, ask him to come down to the station. And he says, why? And Bethany says, why? And they say, well, because you were talking to known sex workers. And Daniel goes, oh. And Bethany goes, what? So he goes down, talks to them. There's nothing really new to add. Then he comes back, and Bethany understandably is quite upset.
Right.
And she's like, I had heard rumors that you were involved with a sex worker, but I didn't think they were true.
Yeah.
Seems a weird thing not to have asked before now.
Well, why would it come up, though?
Well, because you started dating someone and you're like, I
Well,
heard that
I've
you
heard
were
rumors,
dating
that's true.
a sex worker.
Hey, by the way, I heard this. Is it true?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Listen, Bethany was solving crimes.
Well, she didn't solve that one. And so when Bethany comes back so Bethany storms out.
Yeah.
When she comes back into the flat, Nikki's there with Daniel,
Right.
not helping the case.
Not helping.
But Nikki says, Daniel's asking if she has any info. She's like, no, I already told you I don't know anything about Lauren. So why did Nikki come over? Why was Nikki there if she had already said she didn't know anything?
Well, they're all like old friends.
Is she going to have to wear the cardigan again?
How dare you bring up Sinead's cardigan?
I will. And Daniel asked Nikki if Roy was ever a client for anyone that she was aware.
Yeah.
Daniel says that he's essentially getting convinced it might be Roy, as he knows it's not himself. And Roy is the only other suspect.
Only other suspect. Therefore, by process of elimination,
Yes.
by elementary deduction,
Yeah.
it would seem the finger points to Roy.
And Bobby, on the other hand, is getting convinced that it might actually be Daniel, that he might have accidentally fingered him, but perhaps he is correct. And Carla is not telling him not to talk about that. So I don't know what's going on with Carla. She seems happy with this whole thing. Daniel, anyways, he doesn't help his own case.
Yeah.
Joel and Dee Dee.
Joel and Dee Dee.
So Joel,
one of my least favorite storyline.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Tied with Leanne.
I don't mind the Leanne one as much.
Leanne one got good.
So Joel is helping Dee Dee submit the appeal for Roy.
Right.
Also, she's a lawyer, solicitor, doesn't know how to submit the appeal. It needed Alia to do that thing that they probably do fairly frequently.
Well, it's because Alia is a lawyer in training.
Yeah.
Or a training lawyer. What do we call her?
Yeah, lawyer and trainee lawyer.
Trainee lawyer, which doesn't sound like a thing, as we've talked about before. But she's so organized compared to Dee Dee. Dee Dee's not organized. Dee Dee's working on her hair. She's working on her outfits.
Surely, though,
she's got to shop for those outfits.
She has pressed the send button and uploaded an attachment before.
It's all different in LA. Different when she was in LA, you know.
Speaking of outfits, though, she was wearing a fantastic outfit again this week.
Which one was that?
The sort of red dress with the little sort of chain do up on the side. That's very nice.
Vaguely remember.
Yes. So when he's helping her do this, he sees her email coming through, and Dee Dee is getting death threat emails. And it turns out we saw some phone calls as well because she's representing Roy. Yeah. So she's getting trolled essentially. But death threats. So he convinces her that they should go to the police and report this. So they go and do that, which is great. Then they come out and she's like, oh, you're supposed to be meeting your daughter who's 1 year old for the first time right now. Right. And you've missed it. And he's like, no, I rescheduled. Oddly, which seemed to go down okay with the mother. Full credit to her.
He called the 1 year old directly. I was like, listen, I'm running late.
So then they go for a drink and he has chats in the pub with all of the other young dads. Yeah. And Mums talks to Abby and talks to Michael about having young ones.
Get some pretty fair-handed advice.
Plus, we found out Alfie is now 2 because we haven't seen Alfie since he was an infant.
Exactly.
So good to know what to expect. Yeah. He's not starting school yet. And Joel also tells Michael, hey, listen, I am actually trying to get in Dee Dee's good books again. I like her. Yeah. And they do end up getting back together. Yeah. So here's my question. Yeah. Is Joel a good person? Does he have more secrets?
I think he's a good guy. I think that was demonstrated right from the get-go when he paid for whatever it was for Edison Bailey.
Oh, yes, right. The coffee or something
didn't know who
that was
he was.
Declined. Yeah.
And he was like, don't worry about it. I got it for you. Mm-hmm. And also he's taking on some pro bono cases. Mm-hmm.
Do we think that he has any more secrets? Or is that it?
No, I think
that's it. You decided you don't like this storyline. He's going to be so bland. There is nothing else to come out.
One can hope and dream. No, I think he's going to have other storyline stuff happen to him. Mm-hmm. But I think we've established his backstory.
Not that we're going to talk about this, but just as an aside, speaking of Edison Bailey. Yeah. Is anyone taking control of his insurance check yet? Or is that up to him?
Shannon, there's so much going on the street. We'll get to that.
Okay. Maybe next week. I don't know.
Exactly.
No one talked about it this week. So Todd, Eileen, and George.
I enjoyed this.
I was a bit frustrated.
Why?
Well, so George is making a new will. He wants Eileen to be his power of attorney. Kind of like a living will sort of thing. Yeah. Which ticks off Glenda because she views him as, so first of all, their family. Yeah. But also she views it as him saying she's incompetent, that she's a bit of a mess, that she's not on top of things. Yeah. Todd is desperate to know if he's been included in the will because George said he was making it to take into account new people in his life. So the will gets made and Todd's there in the undertaker's office and he sees George putting the will away, talking about this file folder that his dad had used and he uses all the time. Right. Filing it under W for will, showing him exactly where it goes. Which, I mean, to be fair, you are supposed to tell people where your will is.
Yes, absolutely.
So that did make sense. But anyway, so then Todd, after George is gone, goes and pulls it out, takes it home, steams it open.
I was a bit much.
Is caught by Eileen.
Yeah.
So first of all, if Eileen could have caught him, so could George.
Sure.
George,
absolutely.
Does he live there full time?
But
now?
listen,
I don't know.
Todd has that horrible disfiguring scar on his face
That
he's
makes
had
him-
for the past 5 or 6 years, and you can't even look at him. He's just thankful to get a break.
That's why he does all the irrational things.
Exactly.
He's lashing out.
Yeah.
I don't even think they're bothering to do his tiny little scar anymore.
No. Eventually, it'll be the same as Ryan.
It'll
The
just
makeup
fade
people
away.
will be like, this is costing too much.
Yes. So steams it open, and he is being left the undertaker's business.
Yes.
As he is the
Phenomenal.
junior. Exactly. So first of all, Eileen, I thought was pretty calm when she saw him. Like I'd have been. And also, Eileen is George's partner.
But Eileen is sketch too. Eileen is sketch to the core. You know my feelings about Eileen as a person and as a character.
So Todd seals it back up, sneaks back into the office, puts it away in the folder. While he's doing that, he pulls out another piece of paper in W, which was Archie's will. Archie Shuttleworth.
Glenda and George's dad.
Dad, who once upon a time dated Audrey, and I think most of the women in the street. I liked Archie.
So did a lot of women.
Apparently. And it turns out that Archie left the undertakers to both George and Glenda.
Yeah.
Which I seem to recall at the time when they came in, Glenda was ticked that her dad hadn't figured she was going to be any good at business and shouldn't have any ownership of the business.
Is that why she went off to the cruise ships, or is it because
No, I think
go off
she
to the
was
cruise
living
ships?
life on the cruise ships because she didn't want to be an undertaker.
Right. Well, that's fair.
But she was still, technically, she should be owning half that business.
Yeah, true.
So now Todd is getting concerned because what's going to happen to his share when George dies. So anyways, he ends up showing Eileen the piece of paper, the will, and then Eileen suddenly gets a call from Todd's girlfriend in Thailand that Todd's been in, I think, yet another motorcycle accident. I think he's already been in one that had
Motorcycle's
her going
overstating it. It was a moped accident.
there. Right.
Yeah.
But did she not go over there once before? Because
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then anyway, she doesn't bother telling George anything that she knows before she leaves.
That's because she's sketched to the core.
Yeah. So Todd is a bit reassured, saying, well, at least if George dies, I'll get his half of the business. I don't think it quite works like that if he kind of defrauded.
No, he'd have to
Glenda
to amend his, it'd just have to say his shares or interest in the business.
Yeah. So here's my question. Is Todd going back to being a bit of a bad guy? Because he had been trouble. He was always causing trouble where it shouldn't be.
I think he's going
But
to be.
recently he's been wonderful with Paul.
Yeah.
And great with Summer.
Yeah. I think he's mischievous.
Is it mischievous?
Yeah, he's mischievous.
To unseal someone's brand new will?
It is technically illegal, but it is dramatically mischievous, I think. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think he's going to be okay.
I think they've decided we've liked Todd for long enough.
My whole take on this week is, no, everything's fine.
Apparently.
Everything's totally good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a big week for you last week. So now you're like,
So
I'm
this is
checked
good.
out. Yeah.
I need some sort of stability, some foundation, some calm seas.
Well, how about Freddie?
Oh,
Freddie also needs some calm seas.
I have a controversial opinion here.
Go ahead.
I'm not a big Freddie fan.
I agree.
Oh, and that's no reflection on the actor. I'm sure the actor is lovely, but the character Freddie, meh.
I want him to get a bit of a trim, look a little perkier.
Yeah, well, as you'll describe what's going to happen.
So Sam has offered to take Freddie for a walk before school one morning, as his way of. So Leanne is suggesting reality coding is a way to help Roy. Sam's like, I read about it, don't believe in it, not for me. I'm going to help Roy by making sure Freddie is taken care of for his morning walk.
Yeah.
Lovely. So he and Nick go in so that he can pick up Freddie. And they're discussing all this with Evelyn. And there is yet another lurker in the calf.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I feel you wouldn't get that many new faces in the calf every morning.
No.
That they should be a little on guard by now.
However, the calf isn't staying open with just the cast of the Coronation Street people.
No, I know. Meaning, I feel it should be the same background characters having...
The usuals, the regulars.
Yes, they would have other regulars.
I did notice her in the background because she kept looking up at the scene, and I was like, she's going to get in trouble as an extra.
You didn't suspect her.
Well, then after the third look up, I was like, oh, it's part of the scene.
So she's eavesdropping on where Sam is going to be taking Freddie. And so Sam and Freddie head off. And then next thing we know, Sam and Nick are coming back into the calf.
Mm-hmm.
Empty lead. And Sam's all upset. And he had taken...
And all of us watching were like, finally.
And he had taken Freddie off the lead to let him run, which much more common in England than here in Canada.
Yeah.
Here in Canada, it has to be a
lot.
dog
I think
park.
people still do that with their dogs.
They still do, but it's definitely
it's less than it used to be.
I think it's a right in England.
I think because they have dog parks now.
Yeah,
People are like,
maybe.
well, we'll go there.
Yeah. But anyway, so he let him off the lead, looked down at his phone, looked back up, and Freddie was gone.
Right.
So everyone decides they're going to do a search party. Nina is organizing all of this, sends people to various places, sees Toyah on the street, and Toya's like, oh, yeah, I'll help.
Yeah.
I'll help look.
Yeah.
And she says, great, go to North Cross Park to see if you see him there.
Never heard this park before.
Never heard this park before. No. Is it going to become the new Victoria Gardens? Are we going to see it a lot? Don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah. We haven't been to the Red Wreck in a
I think
while.
everything's pretty much settled, Shannon. You know, it's been a few.
So she seems a bit apprehensive about this.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes and does it, and she looks all around, and you can tell she's kind of circling this area.
Stressed out a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And eventually she sort of steels herself and goes over to this area, and you can see that there's a yellow rose bush there.
Mm-hmm.
And just as she comes through, she sees a trio with a spade starting to dig in the ground.
Couple of spades.
Yes, 2 spades.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to dig in the ground. She absolutely flips out on them.
Loses it.
Tells them they can't be doing this. They then start recording their phones.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that it's the woman who was in the cafe.
Yeah.
And they say that they saw Roy Cropper's dog digging there. So obviously he knows this is where Roy buried Lauren.
That's the assumption.
Is their assumption.
Yeah.
Toyah ends up grabbing the spade off of one of them. She's like, stop it or I'll essentially beat you with it. And they were like, go ahead. It's like, she's not going to do that.
She should have just lamped him.
I mean, tempting.
Pang, right off the head.
But she did go over and smash out the window of their car.
See, that was a mistake.
Just as Nick appeared fortuitously.
Yeah.
And Nick dragged her off and said that was the end of it. And they get back and he's like, why are you so upset? And just before she could say anything, the police come.
Mm-hmm.
So she has to go down to the station.
Yeah.
And she is still very upset.
Agitated.
Agitated. That's the word I'm looking for.
Thank you.
And Joel is the duty solicitor.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it weird that Nick would let Toyah go to the police station without having called Adam or Dee Dee to represent. Like that, there's okay, Toyah. I guess let's hope it's a good duty solicitor.
I'm sure it'll be the tank. You'll be fine.
And also, yes, is Craig allowed to question?
He shouldn't be allowed to question anybody.
No, he shouldn't.
Not even the fact that he knows them.
Yeah, yeah.
He just shouldn't be allowed to question them.
And
all right, we're just doing our job. All right, I'm really sorry you feel that way. That was okay. It was a passable tank. It had the emotion.
It had the emotion. Not much.
None of the timbral similarities, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nor the accent, but yes. No, you can't do accents. Toyah's getting really riled up, and essentially Joel says to her, we're going to pause this interview, says to her, if you don't smarten up, they're going to keep you in. They're going to charge you with something and keep something more than just the mischief and keep you in. So they come back in. She's much more herself, apologetic. That was a terrible thing I did. So it's decided that if she pays the damages to the car, then they'll just give her a caution and she can go home. So Toyah is headed home now after this. So Asha, who has been involved in helping Nina, Asha decides to, when they can't find them, Evelyn says to Nina, put up a post.
Yeah.
And then they go and they find online that the dog nappers, the vloggers, have posted that they have Freddie.
Yeah.
And a
hostage video. Where they had Freddie hold up that week's Weatherfield Gazette.
And did they say in that video that Freddie had been digging and they were trying to look it up, or no? They were just saying they're holding Freddie until Roy confesses. Yeah. And then maybe he wrote in the caption something else. We didn't get to see the caption. So they go to the police and they say Roy's dog has been taken. And the police essentially say it's a fake, newly created profile. Nothing we can do. Sorry. Asha then takes matters into her own hands, contacts the dog nappers. Yeah. And says
she's basically a paramedic now.
Exactly. Yeah. Says that she is a disgruntled ex of Roy's niece. Yeah. And that she wants to spill the beans and tell them everything she knows in exchange for getting Freddie back. Moment of levity. They said, if you hate her so much, why do you want the dog back? And she said, I'm a vegan.
I did like that.
And Addie had been supposed to be meeting her there to do this. He kept missing her calls. Luckily, she had already arranged for the police to come as backup. Yeah. So once they were there, the police then swooped in, and the dog nappers didn't want to be in trouble. So it was decided if they hand the dog back over to Asha, then there'll be nothing further. Yeah. So Freddie made it back home safely. Yeah, yeah. So Freddie is back to being whole. Still needs a haircut.
He does. He's a bit mangy looking.
Roy, on the other hand, who often also needs a haircut, but
he looked a bit mangy too.
Yeah. So he has been choosing to go low, no contact, avoid leaving his cell. Yeah. He's obviously not doing very well.
I hope he's eating.
I know they had been bringing him food that he wasn't eating, so I don't know.
I know.
He calls the calf when it was first time after he'd brushed Nina off from the visiting order. Yeah. When he called the calf, all he wanted to do was talk about Freddie. And Nina's like, Dee Dee is working on getting you bail. Mm-hmm. Bobby says that he saw a man in the flat, so this is all looking good.
It's all looking good.
We should be able to get you out. Yeah. And Roy is not interested. He's just like, don't forget about Freddie's vet appointment. Hangs up the phone. When he calls on Nina's birthday is the day that Freddie's missing, and they don't even tell Roy that Freddie is missing. And then it ends with Roy. The scene ends with Roy, and actually I believe the week ended with Roy, on Roy's scene. So he's in the cell, and you can hear he's hearing all these noises. And at first, is he having like a mental break? Is it hallucinations? What's going on? And then he's very overwhelmed, and he's picturing Lauren in his head. Then he's picturing Lauren and then Max.
That was weird.
In his head. Yeah. And then he sort of seems to reach like a bit of a moment of clarity.
Little epiphany.
And the noise stops when he's been thinking about Max. So here's my question.
Okay.
Should Max be considered a suspect?
Well, everybody else is, so why not?
Also, do you think Lauren has actually been murdered?
No, I don't. Mm-hmm. I don't think she's been murdered. I think there's something more weird has gone on.
Do you think she's been kidnapped, or do you think she's run away?
I think she's in hiding.
Right. Of her own volition.
I think that she's on the run, and she's like, I don't want anyone to find me, or this particular person or group of people to find me. And then also, I don't want to drag anybody else into it. I've caused enough trouble. Mm-hmm. And so she's just hiding somewhere. But I think here's my further thing. Mm-hmm. Get ready, buckle up.
I'm buckled.
I think that Roy having his epiphany and landing on the image of Max, it's going to have to do with Max. It's going to be a peripheral. It's going to be stopped on Max, and then it's going to be a pull to wide, and it's going to reveal someone beside Max or something happening.
David.
It's not David.
I don't think it's David either, but no. I mean, we
should bring him in just in case.
That used to be his MO.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Toyah. So Toyah, as we talked about, was extremely uncomfortable doing this search in North Cross Park for Freddie. When she came near the rose bush, flipped out, saw the trio. But then when she went back to the flat after the police station with Nick, he was like, okay, what's going on? Because this is more than just being upset that with everything with Roy and all of that sort of thing.
Before we get too deep with and dark with the Toyah storyline, can I tell you that I think that Toyah always makes me think that she could be your sister, Allison's sister?
I can see that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Accepted.
Again, I wanted to get that out of the way before the story went dark.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. So Nick is genuinely concerned about her, isn't just sort of asking, how are you for the sake of it? And he says, why were you so upset? And she says, that's where I buried my baby, which I had actually called.
You did call that. And I think but you also jumped the gun a little bit there because there was a lot of buildup to that moment.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where there was a part of us where we were thinking, did she kill Lauren?
Does Toyah know something? Yeah.
Does she know something? Was she a party to something?
Yeah.
And then she revealed that, and it was like, okay, all right.
So basically, we consider everyone a suspect, unlike D.S. Swain.
Exactly.
We're not just looking at Roy.
People based on circumstantial or otherwise evidence.
We will think about whoever the camera is pointed at.
We throw it wide open.
So she then tells Nick the story that when she was 19, she gave birth in her bedroom. Unexpectedly to I can't remember if she said 26-week-old, 22-week-old.
26, yeah.
Baby. So very, very premature baby. Didn't call anyone, didn't tell anyone anything. Baby was stillborn, essentially. And she didn't, Janice and Les were downstairs, didn't tell them, slept next to the baby that night.
Heartbreaking.
The next morning, got rid of all the stuff, but decided I can't throw out the baby.
Yeah.
So she takes her to the park, North Cross Park, because that one's locked at night.
Yeah.
So she knew that she could sneak in early.
Yeah.
And saw the rose bush and buried her there.
Yeah.
The father of the baby, I hate using that term father because she was raped.
Right. Yeah.
And they named him. So his name was Phil something. So I wasn't watching when Toyah would have been that age. I don't know if this storyline.
I think we were watching when Toyah was that age.
But I don't know if I remember her. I definitely don't remember her giving birth.
Well, nobody does, Shannon.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
That's what I quite liked. I quite liked the fact the storyline was, it's heartbreaking, but I liked the fact that had been kept a secret, and it was a secret. And then when she recalled it, she mentioned various little plots and stories that were going on around the same time.
Because the guy who raped her got 10 years in jail, she said.
So that part was covered.
You remember that?
I don't remember that specifically, but I believe that was covered, though.
Right. Yeah. So
that was a shared memory.
I'm curious. People who are wiser than us and who
there's no way to find
can
out.
Google more carefully than us, because we don't Google in case we see things that we don't want to, that we shouldn't. I'm curious if we knew that Toyah had given birth previously.
I think we must have known. Because she mentioned a bunch of other things.
You just said we hadn't known.
We hadn't known what?
That she'd given birth.
Oh no, sorry, that she'd been raped.
Oh,
we knew that.
Yeah.
I think we knew that. And I like how she dotted the other stories, because then it kind of was like, oh, wow, none of us knew, like the viewers. We were like, oh, we didn't even know that.
Yeah. So, and Nick was lovely talking to her during that.
He was.
Yes, it was good. He's like, that's the most undistracted I've seen him.
His facial expression finally made sense.
So
crumpled.
My question for this one is
wide-mouthed.
Is actually unrelated to poor Toyah, really. How are the police not making the connection between Toyah bashing this car in because those people were digging, saying that they saw Roy Cropper's dog digging there? How would you know what Roy Cropper's dog looked like unless you were the dog nappers? How are they not making that connection? How are they not saying,
well, listen, there's so many. We don't want to get into a discussion with the problems with the Weatherfield Police Department because they are seriously flawed, but they're also seriously overworked.
well, this is true.
Because there's only, as far as I can tell, there's about 5 cops.
Yes.
Including Swain and Tink.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the guy who doesn't ever get a line, but is often with Swain now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I found that a bit frustrating.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like, surely
frustrating.
we can connect this dot.
For sure.
And then Leanne.
Lee.
Lee.
Just Lee to us. Can I talk about her dress?
Yes, I didn't notice her dress
Well,
this
you had
time.
mentioned her tights,
Oh, yes.
which were yellow.
Yes.
Which was an interesting
Thick-
choice.
thick yellow
I'm not complaining. And the blue dress.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of a flight attendant look to it,
Or a Ukrainian flag.
or a Ukrainian flag. I'm fine with both
Okay.
things.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like was the capped sleeve that cut away underneath, like quite a big bit, sort of like for the underarm.
Right.
It was weird. It was like you've asked a 7-year-old to make a sexy dress. What if you could see her armpits?
I find her dresses are often slightly odd.
Well, she's got a thing. She's got a what do you call this part? Shoulder.
Yeah.
That's just a shoulder, isn't it?
Shoulder.
I thought I had a better name than that. She's got a shoulder issue with her outfits.
They often have little bits sticking off them.
Little frills,
Little
puffs.
I want to say peplum. I don't know if I'm correct in that
I
word.
don't know.
Yeah. I agree. So she is now, as part of her Institute program, is journaling.
I have so much to say about this.
Yes. So both Nick and Toyah, when she said she's journaling, they're saying, "Oh, I didn't see you as a diary type," and she's like, "It's a journal." And
journal.
Nick and Toyah were both being actually quite mean, I thought. I get that they're sick of this, but they were being a little bit mean. They were a bit beyond.
They're being a bit judgy.
Yes.
Though it seems evident it's not good.
Yeah. So she tells Nick that she's decided she's going to stay in the program because it's her money. She can do with it what she wants.
Sure.
He can't tell her what to do. Fair enough. And now when anything upsetting happens, she has to go straight to the journal and write it in there unfiltered. So she can't, if she was having a fight with Nick, she couldn't resolve the fight with Nick. She would have to have the fight and then immediately go and journal it.
Yeah.
Rather than discussing it with
Right.
him,
Rather than working it
her
through.
husband, the person involved in the thing, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then she's supposed to record these raw, unprocessed feelings and thoughts. And then once a week or whatever, she's going to upload them with Rowan
Yeah.
in one of their online sessions. So when she comes home, just after Nick and Toyah had their heart-to-heart, Toyah had gone to sort of have a shower, freshen up,
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. And essentially they were like, "I'm glad you told me," and all this kind of stuff. And Leanne comes in and they're obviously talking and she says, "Oh, what's up? What's happened?" And Nick goes, "Oh, nothing." And Toyah says, "No, I should tell you, I should talk to you."
Yeah.
So Toyah and Leanne have a lovely conversation, just the two of them. And that all seems great. Leanne is much more understanding of what Toyah's been through. Toyah asks Leanne to come with her to the gravesite, and Leanne does. Brings a little teddy bear.
I have so many problems with this whole Leanne. Come on.
Like, this area has been under recent investigation.
Exactly. And now there's one single cut yellow rose and a kid's teddy bear.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No, it seems silly. But then when they come back and Leanne sees Nick, Leanne is often someone who is quite ticked off. I have never seen her as angry faced as she was with Nick when she came back in.
Yeah.
And Nick's like, "What's the matter?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "You lied to me."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I didn't."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yes, you did. When I came in and I asked what was happening, you said nothing." So first of all, if that's your definition of a lie.
Yeah.
And Nick's like, "It wasn't my secret to tell."
Yeah, fair.
But also, it wasn't even dragged out. Toyah immediately told her.
Said right away, exactly.
So then she went off to go and journal this as well to upload. So here's, I mean, we all know Rowan is no good. But as well as just taking all her money, is he using this journaling and uploading to get dirt on either Leanne or her family or both?
Yes. Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. That's the whole shtick. He's going to get all this unfiltered admission and confession, and he's going to use that to keep her in the program so she can never leave the program for fear of that stuff getting out.
Well, I'm thinking that she's going to be sharing with him about Toyah and burying Rose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also we missed a part.
Yes. What part?
You've taken elaborate notes.
I know.
None of the notes are good.
But I haven't been reading them. So that's been part of my problem.
But after Nick was so understanding with Toyah,
yes,
they had a moment.
Oh, well, I mean, some of us, moi, said about 2 months ago that we thought there was going to be a little Nick and Toyah something.
Yeah, because she's looking at Nick and she's like, you know what? That guy's facial expression makes sense right now.
And
I should kiss it.
And he's like, you know what? She's not annoying as my wife is being currently.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, not even wife, fiance.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. But I'm not even sure that's going to go anywhere. It might, if there's more pressure from Leanne, maybe that will drive Toyah into the arms of Nick or Nick into the arms of Toyah. Mm-hmm. He's going to be like, why not? Because she's already living there.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Transition's fine. Guess what, Leanne? You're the roommate now.
Wait, is Simon... Now Simon's there now. That's why Ryan is able to be back at Carla's. So now it's just Ryan and Bobby fighting over the bedroom at Carla's.
Yeah, Simon and
Sam must be fighting over a bedroom.
Simon, Sam, and Toyah sleep on triple bunk beds.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we're gonna do favorite moments.
Okay, I'm ready.
So favorite moments being something that was kind of humorous.
Yeah.
Where they add a little bit of levity.
Yeah.
And my favorite moment was when Alia and Adam were fighting before Alia had left.
Yeah.
And Adam was being a jerk. And Alia says to Adam, could you be any more irritating? And Michael, swanning by, says, I mean, probably if he put his mind to it.
That was pretty good. And I'm pretty sure this one happened last week because I think it was broken up because of lots of stuff going on here. But I'm pretty sure it happened on Monday or Tuesday where they were in the calf. It was Carla and Abby, I think, talking to Nina. And they mentioned about being in prison, and they mentioned Sally, about how Abby met Sally in prison, and Nina went, Sally who? And they both went, Metcalf. Like, you idiot. But of course, why would she know her? Which is the only point of realistic relationship thing in Coronation Street in ages, is having a character who goes like, I don't know who the hell you're talking about.
Yes, they have been getting a bit better at that.
Well, they were getting a bit weird because, like we were mentioning before, like Bobby would sit down and he'd be having breakfast with like Tim and stuff. And it's like, why?
Yeah. So share with us if you're commenting your favorite funny moments, lovely moments, which I've added, and mine is Nick and Toyah's conversation.
I agree. I'll second that.
Yeah,
it was not. It was really well acted.
Yep.
It was really well written, and it was.
He just listened.
He listened, and. Again, his facial expression, nailed it. Nailed it.
And I'm throwing out here this time a random thought.
Oh my God, there's 3 segments now at the end.
I think that Roy's prison guard is Bobby's brother in real life. So let me know what you think.
But you often think people are someone's real sibling in real life.
Listen, some of them are in the show.
Like who?
Is it Sam and Hope?
You think Sam and Hope are related?
Hope is related to someone in the show. And
well, again, we'll never be able to find out. There's no way for us to find out.
Someone told us in the comments before.
People say a lot of things in the comments.
I trust them more than I trust you with the research.
That seems fair.
Yes.
That seems fair. So that was really good, Shannon. You did a great job. We had to play catch up a little bit.
Yes.
But it was worth the 8 hours of Coronation Street yesterday. Thanks so much for watching and or listening to North of Weatherfield, the Canadian Coronation Street podcast. You can, of course, find us at weatherfield.ca. That'll take you to our Substack page where you can sign up with your email address. You'll get notified every time there's a new episode. You can also join in for free into the comments section below. And, of course, you can find us, like many people do, on your favorite podcasting platform. And, Shannon, by the way, what are we at now? Let me find out where we're at now.
While you're pulling out your phone, can we
Yeah.
maybe do the theme?
No. Sure, yeah, do the theme. Okay, here comes the theme. Okay, it's not as impressive as I thought. But it is a week afterwards. But I think we did bounce into the top 40 after shows podcasts in Canada. And we are currently number 167 in Japan for after shows. So if you're listening in Japan,
thank you.
Konnichiwa. That was right, wasn't it?
I think that means hello.
I think it means both, doesn't it?
Hello and thank you?
Yeah, it's like aloha.
Aloha doesn't mean thank you.
It means both. You can say aloha.
No.
Or is that mahalo?
Yes.
Well, mahalo. That's close. Anyway, thanks again so much for watching and or listening. We'll see you next week. Take care.